Good morning. Good morning. I was asked to share my thoughts on gratitude in an email and given some prompts. And I worked on it the last couple days and had Michelle proofread it this morning, and then I forgot to print it. So I'm going to go directly from the email here. My name's Jeff Stover, if I didn't say that already. For years, I had been searching for a church home. I grew up in a fundamentalist kind of an atmosphere and kind of went out, how would you say, wandering, looking, seeking. I'd identified the UU church, but I'd never been to one. And then I met Michelle about 3 years ago, and a few months after we started dating, I asked her if she wanted to come here, and we both really just connected and loved it. And I thought, she's a really cool chick. This is good. This is good. Actually, my first point of gratitude is for my wonderful wife, Michelle, who gave birth to our beautiful son, Wyatt, 8.5 months ago. And if you need to see any pictures, I have hundreds. He is our first child ever. So he's just a wonder and a joy, and wow. We don't know how single parents do it. It's a humbling experience. I guess what attracted me to Unitarian Universalism was this fearless, progressive, change-seeking, open-minded body of people where you could come in and you could ask questions and have discussions that weren't had these real hard parameters that you have to follow. That was what really brought me to this church and has inspired me and us. And I've been on the board for a whole month now or less, so I am definitely the rookie, and looking forward to serving the church here. And I feel the need for that just because there's so much here to receive that I feel like I want to participate. Michelle and I both had the opportunity to help out with RE here and there. I did an art show over in the Dome a couple years ago. The church graciously, thank you. And so I'm a visual artist. I went to USF. Along with all these other things that have to be done, I try to make some art and share it with people. We also, Jamie and I and Mary Frances and some others, we put together a little event in the spring on Earth Day. That was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of people here, but I think we need to do a reboot on that one, 2.0. Make sure I covered all my bases here. It's the last one, which is really interesting. It says, I feel it is important that this community be here in 50 or 100 years. Choose one, because. And I think it's so needed. For one thing, it's just needed within this area of the South, if I might be so bold. And I also look forward to Wyatt, participating in RE. It needs to be here for him and for other people in our community. Thank y'all for being here.
Well, hi, everyone. My name is Karen Zindell, and I've been a member since March of this year. I drifted in last November from the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the South Jersey Shore, where I was a decade-long member. What lured me to that congregation was a newspaper notice announcing a Buddhist speaker. I had a conflict with the orienteering program I was teaching that day, but found myself available for the nonviolent communication workshop that followed. Once I floated through the UU doors, I immediately felt safe harbor here. Like Ron Phillips, I was a closet atheist at the time, though not due to political, social, or safety factors. My mother was a waspy atheist who sent me to Protestant kindergarten, Sunday school, to comply with my father's wishes per the divorce decree. His mother, born Jewish, converted to radical Christian Science on the brink of his bar mitzvah. And his father's religion was the U.S. Marines. I believe my father felt that in the absence of regular paternal spankings, the morality taught in church would provide his children a wholesome upbringing. I clearly remember my 6-year-old Karen's shame and embarrassment when questioning the Sunday school teacher. If they were the only people in the world, then who did Cain and Abel marry? Though I can't remember her exact response, my mother never forced me to attend that church again. Instead, as I grew up, she let me go to Mass or synagogue with my religiously diverse neighborhood playmates. But it was afterwards, discovering the trails through Minnie Creek's cattails, watching blue-bellied blowfish inflate, sailing Risley's Channel in my sunfish, or body surfing the Atlantic Ocean swells, that I felt most rapturously connected to spirit. If I came out of the atheist closet, would I have to deny how I felt at such moments? The 70s cast a purple haze over my teens and 20s. And yes, if you just had a Robert De Niro Meet the Fockers, Puff the Magic Dragon moment, you weren't imagining it. My seeking ferried me inland to Boulder, Colorado, at a time when many spiritual streamings were converging. There I discovered a non-denominational, non-dogmatic community, and the seeker dove within. Now flow fast forward several decades through parenthood, life passages, and cascading social geographical changes. It is the support in my ongoing search for direct experience that makes you the only option for me. The warm welcome I received when coasting through the dome's doors was a coincidence that my favorite singing meditation hymn, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, was being sung that Sunday. Not knowing a soul in this area besides my daughter's fiance's small family, here I was greeted by folks who reminded me of UUCSJS friends Evelyn Benton, Betsy Seawright, the Cloughs, Heidi Janish, Jack and Barbara Miller, Teresa McReynolds, Sharon Gray, and Will Parsons. Was this some strange quantum fractal universe delusion? Patterns swirling double helix round here. I even swam through my fear and found a new kind of day tripping. One that lifted the unknown geographical haze, bearing me confidence in finding myself, navigating new currents. Thank you, Ron and Mary, for that. After testing the UUCT waters with a concert and bardic circle, I plunged in all the way for Music Mondays, emerging each week feeling clean, clear, connected, and safe, or safer, in these unique and sometimes murky political, social South Florida waters. Here, I've moored to help raise my 3-year-old grandson. During this voyage, most of my world and horizons have shrunk. My circle of friends, my house, my yard, my income, though unfortunately not my waistline. Adult interests have been replaced by goldfish crackers and fizzing bathtub egg hatching miniature dinosaurs. In my chosen retirement from a service career here, I am most grateful for the opportunity to give back to the world. Being a member of this congregation washes my trickle of self-involved Play-Doh and Wally Kazam resources with all of yours and into UUA's healing ocean, and allows me to be part of the streaming solution this planet so desperately thirsts for. Thank you.
My name is Fran Davin, and I have been a member of this congregation since 1996. But 70 years ago, I became a Unitarian through the Unitarian Liberal Religious Ruth, the LRY. Is there anyone here that shared that experience? LRY, yeah. And right. It was the forerunner to the youth group we have today. So if you'll allow me for a minute, I'd like to share some Unitarian history with you, because my own background was greatly influenced by my own history, and it set my pathway in life. And it's really why I have remained a Unitarian my entire adult life. My birthplace was Quincy, Massachusetts. You might have guessed. And that is the site of one of our oldest established Unitarian congregations in the United States. That congregation was founded in 1636. So you can see they barely got their feet dry from getting off the boat, and they formed the Unitarian congregation. The present impressive edifice on Hancock Street in Quincy was their fourth meeting house. And when they had grown in wealth and substance, they built this beautiful building of Quincy granite. And all of those building materials was the gift of President John Adams. If you ever visit the Boston area, I really urge you to go down and take a tour of First Church there in Quincy. It's an experience. There's something very special about that church as a Unitarian church. It's the only one in the United States which houses a president. President John Adams and his wife Abigail are buried there. Now, there's one other church in the United States that houses the remains of a president. Woodrow Wilson was interred in the Episcopal Church in Washington. But the Unitarians can outdo that because they have two presidents in their church. After the passing of John Quincy Adams, the son of President John Adams and another president, he and his wife Louisa were also interred in First United Church. And that's why they are very proud in that city that it's known as the Church of the Presidents. And it's very impressive to visit not only the edifice itself, but when you go down into the lower level, the docents will take you on a tour there, and you stand and you observe these four tombs, and you think about the contributions that those people made to our country. You really are moved by it. 15 minutes down the road, fronting Boston Harbor, is a small town called Hingham, and that is where I grew up. And that is the home of another very famous Unitarian church known as the Old Ship Church. Its formal name is First Parish Unitarian, and it was built in 1681. They were latecomers. But, you know, it's very important to understand that not only were these churches used as places of worship on Sunday, but during the week, it's where the early settlers gathered, and they discussed and worked out civic issues. And in Old Ship Church, many Revolutionary War plans were laid there. Our inherited Unitarian values of freedom and the dignity of individuals were not only held up as important, but they were practiced by our forefathers. They practiced the dignity and worth of each human being. Very importantly, for those times, they practiced the rights of religious freedom for all and free expression of opinion. That's where we get it from. And a strong belief in the role of the individual in both church and community life. These history lessons and moral values were emphasized in the LRY program at the Old Ship Church, and young people came to feel a part of a much larger family. Now, my Unitarian heritage may differ from yours. That small town in which I grew up, which was about 11,000 people at the time, housed 2 thriving Unitarian congregations. And throughout New England, towns and villages found themselves peopled with more than one Unitarian church. Unitarian churches in the early years of our country had a recognized and respected leading role in community affairs, and still do. It's a little different than in the Southeast, where a religious minority, and many people think we're some new age denomination. Well, that's not so. We have a bedrock heritage. Unitarians helped to form and guide the concept of democracy rather than royalty in the founding of this country. They helped to draft the Declaration of Independence. They uplifted the importance of democratic, with a little d, principles, and they elevated the concept of dignity of every individual. They took also a very active role in the emancipation struggle. I'm very grateful that these principles were taught to me early in my life, and they really have served as a guidepost for me throughout my adult life. And I am very grateful to be a member of this congregation. This community not only sustains my spirit and holds me up during personal times of trouble, it provides me with reason to believe that someday, together, we are going to reach our goal of peace and equality. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Grant Wilson. I've been a member of this church since about 1989, and from the time I first walked in the door, I felt like I was at home. And that's pretty interesting, considering that I was raised a Christian, a lot of different varieties, Disciples of Christ, which was a mainline denomination in the 50s and 60s, and then a conservative independent church that my mom dragged us to, whether we wanted to go or not, and eventually Southern Baptist, and if you could believe it, even a year in Baptist seminary. Well, seminary cured me, and I left disillusioned and remained basically unchurched for the next decade or so. However, my ultra-fundamentalist, conservative, Republican mother pestered me to get my daughter saved from about my daughter's second birthday. So I started hunting for a church so that I could be saved from my mom. P.S. I loved her anyway. At any rate, I felt I'd had a home here as soon as I showed up. And I've stayed, and I'd like to add I've prospered. UU principles have encouraged me to expand the definition of spirituality. When I got here, my spirituality was pretty God-centered. And as time has gone on, I've noticed, or at least I feel, that I've been able to expand the spiritual idea far beyond a deity, so that now it includes the broader perspective of all of my life, of everything I do. And that's a pretty unique thing, so that in my thinking politically, in my thinking socially, in my career, in everything I do, that becomes part of my spiritual experience, which was pretty rare. So what this also did was create in me, and I learned from, I don't know the source, I bet I went to a workshop somewhere, but somebody introduced to me something called the principle of prosperity. And it takes me a little bit of nerve to say that, because a lot of times we don't like to think those kinds of things, that there is a principle of prosperity. Well, I finally decided to commit to it. And what that simply meant was I began opening my mind and my heart and my resources to sharing them, and then trying to see what that did to that inner miser that was within me. And so here I've been able to learn to give a little more every year, during this pledge, give a little more in resources and in time and in feelings and emotions that I've learned to express here and not feel shut down. And so this idea, this principle of prosperity is allowing me to continue growing beyond a period when a lot of people think that as we get older, we kind of, shrink, go into our shell, whatever. I know middle age and younger folks stop seeing us at this age, but that's okay. The idea, though, is to just keep reaching out, keep opening up, keep giving in multiple ways, and it begins to work, or it has for me, so that my life works better. Okay, I'm moving this slightly, since it is the season for pledging. Sorry if it's the last day. Regardless of what they say, they will accept your funds beyond today. At any rate, this place has been a major recipient of my giving, my as well as my time, talents, everything. At any rate, now more specifically, some of the reasons I come to this place is that I find here a fellowship of like minds, like feelings, and I feel at home. And it's also been a family replacement. I love my family, and I will continue to see them a couple of times a year, no matter what. But here I've found the acceptance that it's tough to get sometimes. I love my family. P.S. I love my family. Oh, and meeting my wife Diana early on, which has once again additionally helped me to love better, to have a lot more emotional healing and growth. Well, also she's cute and perky, but so, anyhow. So more specifically, a lot of my social life centers around the activities of this place. And I got to thinking in what I'm going to, when I pledge, that's worth, a couple of $1,000 a year in itself. Think of the amount of money you spend on entertainment in a year in other places. Don't think too hard on that. At any rate, and then another thought that came to me, church is still far less expensive than long-term therapy. Reverend Patricia and other insightful talks have helped. Tuesday night meditation has helped. I've learned to do that in a group, and it has calmed me, deepened me. It's pretty neat. You all even gave me the nerve to practice yoga, and we offer a yoga class on Friday mornings. and Monday night jam and singing. We sing our hearts out, regardless of whether we have any talent or not, doesn't matter. And when I'm finished, I just feel so good. So it's good for the soul. So, this is what life is like when you choose to commit yourself here. I'm grateful for that. Thank you, all of you.
Our closing words today come from Dag Hammarskjöld. For all that has been, thanks. For all that shall be, yes. Please join me in the traditional closing. Words are in your order of service and on the walls above the windows. Thank you.